He's written and performed some of the greatest riffs, certainly some of the greatest rock and roll of all time. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin fame joins me live to talk music memories. And what's next for the biggest selling hard rock band of all time? You won't want to miss this.
The most trusted name in news.
Earlier we asked, what is Led Zeppelin's best-selling song of all time? The answer, Stairway to Heaven. It's also become the most played track in radio history. The rock music world, late 60s fusing into the 70s, of all the bands, one stuck to its guns, blasting its way into the minds of countless fans everywhere, but especially here in the United States. After 2 decades of silence, Led Zeppelin is flying high again. As only they could say it. It's been 23 years to be exact. 23 years since one of rock's most formidable bands called it quits.
Been dazed and confused, so long it's not true.
Now Led Zeppelin is back with a purity that seems to mock the other bands of their era who are still plowing through reunion tours. This week, Led Zeppelin came out with a compilation of previously unreleased live performances from the band's heyday in the 1970s. Three CDs featuring live material from California concerts in the early 70s, and 2 DVDs with footage from 4 concerts in England and New York from 1970 to 1979. This is Led Zeppelin at the height of its power. Relentless guitar, bass, and drum riffs by the legendary Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham. And the unmistakable, ripping voice of Robert Plant. These 4 musicians helped create the heavy metal era, held sway over a generation, and over 11 years became one of the biggest selling rock groups of all time. More than 200 million albums sold worldwide. It all came to an abrupt end after drummer John Bonham died of an alcohol overdose in 1980. But for Zeppelin fans, it's all here, from the classic Whole Lotta Love and Dazed and Confused, to the ballad that became an anthem for generations of teenagers.
And she's buying the stairway to heaven. And when she gets...
And joining us now, Led Zeppelin lead guitarist Jimmy Page. Jimmy, congratulations on this remarkable work. Thanks so much for joining us, bringing back a lot of good memories for many of my generation. What about this decision you did? Why did you do this, decide to go back and recreate Led Zeppelin, in effect, on DVD and CD?
Well, you know, Wolf, the band Led Zeppelin was really weighed up by the albums that it had out, each album being quite different to the next. We didn't put out any singles, and we were really there to stand up and be counted by the live shows that we did. Every show was quite different, and in actual fact, we as you said, quite rightly said, we only actually managed to film 4 of our concerts and have an audio truck. So those were our 4 sets of source material. And you know, with the advent of DVDs and the digital quality, surround sound, it seemed exactly the right thing to do, to show people the other side of the coin, the live performances after all the studio material had come out.
You took the lead in getting all this stuff together. A lot of us remember in the heyday, you didn't do a lot of interviews. There weren't a lot of tape performances. How did you collect all this material?
Well, actually, it's true. Because we didn't put out singles, that meant that we didn't have that sort of that awful scenario where you'd be on television miming. You know, we really wanted to be a live band, and that was it. You know, that's how we wanted to do it. So Because we weren't going to fit into the television format, we had to actually film the band ourselves. The first time we did it was in 1970 at Albert Hall in London, just after the second album had come out, so that was quite a good point for us. The second time that we did it was 3 years later at Madison Square Garden, and that was the source of the 1976 film, Song Remains the Same. And that's all there is a visual document, you see.
It's an amazing documentary. When we hear, at least when I hear, certain Led Zeppelin songs, it brings back specific memories. What about you? Talk a little bit about specific songs and the memories they bring back to you.
Well, you know, they've all got memories for me. They were all the way that they were recorded. Each song had a very strong identity to it, you know, an ambience to it, which really comes through the speakers, you know, when you hear those songs, and the way that they were actually laced into the albums. They were laced there for a reason, to give light and shade and dynamics. As far as the live performances go, the truth of that is that when you went up on stage, you never really knew what was going to happen between that point and coming off stage, because there were this sort of musical ESP that we had with these four very different characters in everyday life coming together, joining together those four elements. And what we created musically on stage was absolutely really from inspiration, right on that stage at that particular point of moment. You went on stage forgetting exactly what had happened in the day, but you just let the music do the speaking, really.
You guys helped create heavy metal. Who do you see as the heirs? Who do you like to listen to, the music, the genre that you helped create?
Well, you know, one of the most interesting things for me, and most inspiring for me as well, is the fact that, you know, since 1980, every year there's been bands and musicians, you know, young kids to even professional musicians who've said, you know, it's hearing your band that really made me want to get into music. So that has been an inspiration for others, and I must say that's been inspiring for me. So in actual fact, that sort of spirit of Led Zeppelin, which is really a spirit of rock, the sort of thing that I access through the rock of the 50s, like Elvis, really, you know, is really there, sort of permeating through many bands right now. That's great.
You know, a lot of people are going to buy these DVDs and these CDs and wonder if they're ever going to see another live concert by what remains, of course, of Led Zeppelin. What are you going to tell them?
Well, one of the things is that this musical communication that we had between the four members of the time, after 11 years of that, we knew each other so well musically, and we could throw any idea at each other, and it just would, you know, evolve and move, and you know what? That's why when we lost John Bonham, we just really, it was the right decision in respect to his part of the band at the time, not to carry on. I think if it had been each and every one of us, if it had happened to myself or Robert or whatever, the same decision would have been made. You know, with all of this DVD and the CDs that have come out, there was input from the rest of the band, you know, obviously on the end of during the covers and all of that. And even here, we've been doing press. And I've got to tell you, with my hand on my heart, that we haven't discussed getting together to play. But I tell you that the only way that we could really do it would be knowing what the spirit of what the music is and was, would be to get in a studio, in a room with instruments and do a couple of Led Zeppelin numbers. And you know what? If there was a smile in each other's eyes at the end of that, then it would maybe worth really doing, you know.
Well, if you do it, we'll come and watch not only my generation, but many generations. Jimmy Page, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us and bringing back some good memories.
Thank you very much, Wolf.
Thank you. We have much more coming up. Our hot web question of the day: do you approve or disapprove of President Bush's handling of international affairs?